got a few comments to get through. Paul, I'm going to come to yours in a wee second about Clement and the kitty and the transfers and stuff. But Kieran, we've seen this last season. As soon as Gerrard went to Saudi, there was all sorts of rumours. But again, they're resurfacing. We'll talk about Connor Goldson's interview in a wee second as well. But Tavernier Goldson, bid rumours, yes, no, how much? Anything over 10 mil for the pair is wrong side of 30. So firstly, Kieran, rumours. Is it realistic in your eyes? And if it was, how much would you be happy with us selling them for?
Realistic. I've seen a couple of reports that are all saying the same thing. So I'm not saying it's set in stone. I'm not saying there's no truth to it. But if there's that many reports going about, there must be some sort of truth into it. Maybe they're just looking. I don't know. Is the wrong side of 30? Tav's still producing the goods as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to get too sentimental on a player because players leave. That's their job. They go for money. And right now, Saudi does look like where the money is. Goldson and Tav going, see anything over 10 mil for the pair. I don't know. I don't know because Goldson, as he's gotten older, has lost that bit of pace. He's lost a bit of strength. I personally think that Goldson looks like his head's not in it anymore. And that's just my opinion. I feel like I don't know about the thing with Tav because if they come in with the right price, take them, right? I totally get what Tav brings for us and everything like that, but every player's got a price. Every player in the world's got their price. So I think personally, if they did come in for them, aye, but it would be up to Nils to really, really look to how we could reinvest that because you're looking at a player that's going to give us that same numbers that Tav does, and that's not natural for a right back. So you're already at a loss trying to find a player that replicates that. Goldson's been a great servant to the club, but I'm not saying that he's been in the worst form that he has, but I think personally that there's ways that they could maybe look at it. Goldson has been the preferred centre-back of all the managers that have came in. So whether that's just his leadership or whether it's how he plays, Goldson's at fault for a lot of things, but our whole back line is as well. Goldson seems to be kind of the newest whipping boy. If Gerrard came in for them both, if that's the case, if anyone came in for them both, they're getting older, they'll probably be looking for one last kind of real big payday. And I wouldn't blame them if they did because it's all about money nowadays. There's no loyalty in football. We sit here every week and talk about the exact same thing, that there's no loyalty in football anymore. There's no such thing. Well, I can't say there's no such thing as a one club man, but it's becoming more rare. I think that if the money is right and Rangers see a way they can reinvest the money and give us something back for it and find that new captain, vice-captain pairing that can take us a bit higher than we are now, by all means go for it. But I'm not going to kind of cross my fingers just yet. If it's set in stone, we'll find out at some point. But right now it's just clickbait. So we just have to address it as rumours at the moment.
I mean, Wolf, we constantly discuss not just having Goldson, but many other players and say they've let us down too many times. We have the same conversations at the end of every season, bar one. And we've all, I think, individually at points sat and said, right, it's time now for A, B, C, D, E, F, G to go, and we need to try and refresh the squad. So, realistically, the only place you're going to get decent money for most of our players would be Saudi Arabia, and that is only if you have somebody there who has a Rangers persuasion, who fancies bringing over a couple of the players. So, if Steven Gerrard was to come in for Tav and Goldson as a package, I think he'd have to bite his hand off, would you know?
I think as a club would certainly have to seriously consider it. Depend, obviously, as long as the money was right. A couple of things that could possibly cause a problem. The players would need to want to go because they're both under contract. Can't force them to go. And I know they'll be getting offered silly money.
And the opportunity to work with Gerrard again.
Oh yeah, there is that. But they both seem settled with their families in Scotland. I mean, I know footballers move about quite a lot, but I mean, Tavernier's been up here 9 years. He's staring down a barrel of testimonial. Would he want to miss that? Although I know these days they give it all away to charity and stuff like that. But would he want to miss that? Because not a lot of players get testimonials for a club like Rangers. Listening to that Connor Goldson interview that we're going to touch on, he sounds as if him and his family are quite happy up here. So whether he'd want to move or not, as I say, the money would have to be right, and as Kieran says, we would really, really miss Tav's output, the goals he gives us, the assists that he gives us. But just thinking about it, sitting here talking about it, if we could, if somebody, for example, Steven Gerrard from in Saudi came in with a big offer for the two of them, could we potentially get rid of them to fund the rebuild of the squad and manage to keep Jack Butland? Because I can't help thinking that Jack Butland's going to be sold if I get a decent bid comes in for him, because we need the money to almost rebuild an entire squad. But having said we need to rebuild the squad, we can't get rid of all the experience. So if Tav and Goldson go, that's a lot of experience out of the team. You can't just leave a team full of kids. You need people that know what the club's about, what Scottish football's about. Obviously Ryan Jackson.
Don't do an Alan Hansen, Will. Don't do an Alan Hansen.
No, I'm not doing an Alan Hansen. No, whatever an Alan Hansen is. But you know what I mean? So
with that anything with kids. Come on, you know the old saying.
But you need some experience in the team. And if you get rid of Tav and Goldson and you've got Jack leaving, Lundstrom's probably going to go. Is there going to be any experienced heads that know what it's about? Because they've got to know Rangers are a difficult club to play for. You can bring in 20 new players, they're not all going to work, because Rangers are a heavy jersey to wear, very, very heavy jersey to wear. So if the money's right, then obviously we'd have to consider it. If the players want to go, then you can't really stand in their way. But I'd like to think if a big offer did come in for them, we could possibly keep the goalkeeper. But at the moment, as things stand, I think he's probably going to go to fund the rebuild.
Jim, I'm going to come to your super chat in a wee second, buddy. Fantastic support as always. I'm just going to finish this off, Wally. I can hear people screaming at us and screaming at what Wolf's just said about you need experienced heads and you need people who know Scottish football, etc., etc. Those experienced heads that we have at the football club have won us one league title. So I don't buy, not so much don't buy, that's a bit harsh, but these experienced heads that we've got, let's be brutally honest, over the last 4 or 5, 6 years, haven't worked. We need to re-energise, reinvigorate this team. I get Tav's numbers, fantastic. I get his contribution to the football club, it's been fantastic. But I would rather cash in while I possibly could than wait another 3-4 years for him just to retire.
Look, at the end of the day, look, we've seen good Rangers players come and go before. When Barry Ferguson left that first time,
that killed me. That killed me.
And that's the nature of the game. See if somebody's willing to come in and pay money for somebody and somebody's looking to move. I mean, at the end of the day, the one thing that Rangers can't even get close to is the money that, can be offered by a Saudi Arabian club. So we have to be honest there. Obviously there is a big if there is truth within that story that both players are potentially going to move there. It's a bit like the Sakala one. You can't really stand in their way because it's life-changing. It's money that would... don't get me wrong, clearly Tavernier and Goldson are not on a small amount of money right now, but the money that's over there is another world, and the money that they two could be paid could be 3 or 4 times what they're earning here, and that's money that would probably see them through their life, their children through their life, because of the amount of money that's been spoken about. For me,
the English clubs, William, can't even compete with Saudi Arabia.
No, they can't, because basically the Saudi Arabians can spend whatever money they want. Like, there is no real cap on what they can spend. That's the thing. For somebody like Connor, I think Connor's been a great player for Rangers overall. I think he's had a disappointing year this year, but I think overall Connor's been an unbelievable signing. For a guy that came to the club having had a heart scare and played like 4 years, where he played like 210 games or 215 games or something silly, was utterly ridiculous, really. I'm just lost for words with Tavernier, to be honest. I never thought I would see a defender score the goals that he does, get in the positions that he does. It's just freakish.
William, can I just come straight back at you on that again? Right, sorry to keep butting in, but when stuff comes into my head, I need to say it. And what Tav's done has been nothing short of a miracle in terms of assists and goals and helping the team. right? And I won't deny that. But at the same time, we've won one league title, one League Cup, and one Scottish Cup. So
Yeah.
he's got these amazing numbers. I get that, and I get where we came from. It was never going to be easy to get right back up to the top. Celtic have always got an advantage, and they will have for some time, especially if they go on and win the league this season. That's how important it is to try and get on and win this league. I understand that, but it's all very well and good having all these amazing, phenomenal numbers, but we need to start winning things.
Yeah, but he's also what you would probably consider a big game player, Tavernier. I mean, the amount of times he's scored in the games that we've needed him is actually quite incredible. But the one thing we've lacked probably since Tavernier has signed for Rangers is a proper striker that scored 25 goals a season consistently. And that's something that we've never had. So the numbers for Tavernier have been necessary for us to actually get even up to the top of the table. And that's probably the most kind of concerning fact if Tavernier was to go. Because unless we can add a wide player that's going to give us 15, 20 goals, an attacking midfield player that can give us 10 or 15, because that's what Celtic have continually had for years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was like sort of Edward, also even Kyogo does that. They've got guys like Maeda that scored goals, if it's Jota that scored goals.
O'Reilly.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So like, if you take Tavernier out of our team over the years he's been here, we would probably be finishing maybe third or fourth some seasons because of the numbers that he puts on the board, and that to me is probably the disturbing thing for us. And I think the manager knows that as well. You know, and that's something that is really difficult to replace unless we can find these core players that are going to add up the assists and the goals, because that was always the criticism of Kent. You know, like sort of Kent didn't score enough goals. He didn't create enough goals. You know, I mean, like Cortez looked like he was going to be a good signing, and then he's missed the rest of the season. I don't think we can go out there and buy Cortez this summer. I think the only way that Cortez is back here next year is if it's another loan to buy. Because I don't think we can get into the market and buy him based on, what was that, a handful of games that he played, 5 or 6 games or something like that. It's different with Diamandi. He's going to be here next year. You know, that was a permanent deal the minute that he signed.
Mm-hmm.
But out with that, there is a far, far greater amount of players going that way than there is going that way. And that's what we've got this summer. But you could argue the squad needs to be cut down in size, that there's too many players that I'm not bringing enough to the table. So when you look at guys like Lundstrom and Barisic and Roof and McLaughlin, that's just to name some of the guys that's out of contract. There's obviously several others. But if you just take out those 4 guys, I mean, what are we talking here? 70, 80 grand a week? Do you know what I mean? And that doesn't include the guys who are probably going to get back. Like, you know, the chances of getting Seamer are probably maybe 30-40%. Because of what he's done at Rangers this year, and with him having a year left in his contract, there's going to be interest in Seamer. So like, are Rangers in a position to spend the money to buy him? And if you sign Seamer, where do you play him? Because many of the guys I talk to now think he should be utilised as a 9. Because generally when you watch Seamer, he's probably the most natural finisher we've got. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you could argue that Dessers is a bit hit and miss.
I mean, you could argue, but it would be a very short argument. Yes, he is.